You're listening to musician, author, and educator Bobby Borg, breaking down music, business, and marketing basics so they stick.
So hey everybody, my name is Bobby Borg and we're live at USC's DIY podcast studio. And my topic for discussion today is the digital future. And I'm going to break that down into three main areas. Number one, streaming. Number two, social media. And number three, blockchain technology. I've got a great guest for this subject today. His name is Dr. Morten Bay. Dr. Morten Bay is a research fellow at the Center for the Digital Future, an adjunct professor at USC, and also a musician at heart as well. So, Dr. Morten Bay, thank you very much for coming today. We're going to have an excellent conversation. I'm looking forward to this. I want to provide a little context for my listeners really quick. And essentially that would be the fact that digital technology has changed the music industry so much over the course of the last years and will continue to do so. And three hot topics, which also I discuss in my books, which I'd like to reference later, are streaming, social media, and also blockchain technology. So this brings us to part one, streaming. So Morten, I myself, in my short life so far, have seen literally a number of different configurations, everything from cassettes to 8-track, then I think it was, and vinyl, and then CD, and then MP3, and now streaming. So that would lead one to believe, okay, so what's the next one right around the corner? So with that being said, is streaming here to stay? And if it is, how do we see it evolving in the coming years?
Well, first of all, I do think it's here to stay. I think it's probably the end of a long row of format developments like you just suggested. There's a thing, and when you look at the sort of history of music formats where except for maybe the transition to digital with CD, everything has been about there's been a lot of sort of drops in quality, in sound quality, every time there's a format shift. And that's because people want convenience more than they want quality when they listen to music. And streaming is kind of the ultimate convenience music device, if you will, or system, because it's just like turning on a faucet and the music just comes out. You know, you pay for it once a month, and then you don't even think about that anymore. You just consume music wherever you are. And with bandwidths getting a lot bigger with 5G coming up, that sort of the convenience we're used to having at home with Wi-Fi is going to be even more so out in the rest of the world, like on the physical world, and we'll be able to get like higher than CD quality. You can get that already now, but you have to have a really good signal. But with 5G, it's just no problem. You get like higher than CD quality down on your phone through streaming. So I really can't see what the next thing would be. It would be something where you skip the playback entirely and just inject the music directly into your brain somehow.
Right, a little chip in your arm, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there's the possibility still for more growth in paid subscription services as well, right? Because people are becoming more interested in, as you pointed out, the convenience, but you know, the ad-free, and there's developing countries like China and not Latin America that still have a lot of growth to be had with regards to subscription, right? That's
true. So there's that, but there's also just the fact that for discerning music lovers like you and I, there's still a lot of trouble with the catalog. I mean, there are big inconsistencies in which versions of certain albums that are available, that kind of stuff. So there's definitely room for sort of the luxury version of a Spotify, if you will, still. So there's both, like, there's growth to be had at the low end, but also at the high end.
Okay, excellent. So this brings us to now part two of our discussion, social media. And I'd like to make reference to my book, Business Basics for Musicians, and a chapter titled Future Forecasts. In that chapter, Chris Fletcher of Coast to Coast Entertainment suggests the possibility of paid subscription social media. And I mean, I will tell you myself that, getting tired of like fake news and ridiculous like comments by trolls and
Influence?
sure, it gets a little bit ridiculous after a while, to the
Right.
point where I think I would pay for it. Do you see this as being viable in the future?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been talked about for quite a while now. The reason why we haven't seen it yet, I think, is because the business model that the current social media giants have is basically accumulating as many users as possible and accumulate as much of their data, sell that data, and advertise to the users. And of course, in that case, more is more, and it'll be more about, I think that the revenue that they can get from that dwarfs whatever they would be able to get in subscriptions. So I think that's why we haven't seen it yet. Now that said, I think that there is room in the market for some smaller players that would do what you're suggesting there. But then you run into the problem of making sure that you can reach the people that you want to reach
Right.
on social
Yeah,
media, right?
exactly.
We call it the network effect. It's basically, if one person is on one platform and another person is on that platform, and they know each other, the platform has just become twice as valuable
Right.
to both of them.
Right.
So that's the conflict there, and what you might end up seeing, and this is sort of another aspect of, is sort of a division between rich social media and poor social media, where all the poor people who can't afford the subscription are left to be faced with trolls and bots and all that. And then finally, there's the problem that social media, one of the great things about social media is that you can actually hide if say you have, let's say that you are a religious minority in a country that is not, where that religious minority is banned or is persecuted. Well, there is a way there that you can communicate with others of the same mindset without necessarily being identified. So the flip sides of the disadvantages of social media sometimes are also their biggest advantages. So it's complex.
Important information. So let's move on to part 3 now, and let's talk about blockchain technology. And I'd like to make reference again to music marketing for the DIY musician in a chapter titled "Prepare for the Future: Marketing Predictions from the Pros." And in that chapter, attorney Ben McLean discusses the possibility of blockchain simplifying royalty collections. So I'm going to kind of give you a triple barrel question here, but essentially I know myself as being an artist that oftentimes waiting for royalty payments to come from foreign territories can take 2 to 3 years. Is there, or do you see blockchain technology maybe affecting the way money is, over the internet, distributed over the internet, collected over the internet, etc.?
Right.
Do you see that happening?
I mean, it would be. I think it's definitely viable, and I think it's definitely something that would. I think save a lot of money on the administration that some of these collection societies and collection agencies spend on admin. But the big problem, I've sat on the board of a European collection society, and it's a very, very heavy and complex system, and so those organizations are usually quite conservative when it comes to, they're very risk averse, and rightly so. They are, in most cases, they are protecting a vulnerable group of songwriters and composers that are for whom they are, a major source of income. And so if they may mess up, it's a big problem for these members. So they're careful. And I think transitioning to something like blockchain is going to take a long time for them, because they are as careful as they are. Now, that said, it would be a clever way of doing things, especially in this regard, because with streaming going on and streaming becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger part of the market, the fact that we have better registration of what's being played live those two things in combination makes royalty collection a prime candidate for the blockchain. So maybe I should just really quickly explain how the blockchain works.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
It's basically, if you think about, it came out of Bitcoin originally, but and these days a lot of companies think they can make money just by putting blockchain somewhere in their title or their mission statement. So it's a buzzword right now. But when you sort of boil it down to its core and why it's useful, it's because it's an encrypted ledger, if you will, that's open to everybody to use. So everybody can get on board with it. But once you make an agreement or a contract with another person on the blockchain, basically what happens is the two people that are or the two parties get the keys to the encryption for that agreement. And that means that none of them can actually change anything without the other person knowing about it. So that gives you a sort of a bigger safer way of doing contracts in the future.
I see.
That's probably what your lawyer source is talking about.
Right.
And of course, if you've got a publishing company, and every single collection that goes through streaming, for example, is also registered on the blockchain. Well, the ability for the artist or the artist manager to audit what's going on all of a sudden becomes much bigger. It becomes much more expensive because all they have to do is take their key and open up the contract and look what's going on. Nobody else can change it. So you don't have these shady deals that might go on in say a publishing house or a publishing company where all of a sudden something they have some kind of clause in the contract that says that they can change X at any time, and then they change X and you get cheated out of money.
Right.
That couldn't happen in a situation like that.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So this is this very, very interesting stuff, and certainly things that we should kind of look for in the near future. So thank you very much. Excellent, excellent information. So, everybody, my name is Bobby Borg, and what we've been discussing today is the digital future, and we broke it down into three main areas. Number one, streaming. Number two, social media. And number three, blockchain technology. So we're just trying to break down music, business, and marketing basics so that they stick. Make sure to check out the next segment. Peace. Thanks very much again. Great discussion. Hey everybody, if you like the videos that you just watched, please be sure to check out my books, Business Basics for Musicians and Music Marketing for the DIY Musician, available at Amazon.com, BobbyBorg.com, or any fine bookseller. Thanks again for watching, and peace.